Alright guys, sound design space video tutorial today. So I've had quite a lot of demand for tutorials on effects and build up sounds. So I thought I'd finally get around to making one. So in this video we'll be looking at making a self-modulating saw or squarizer and massive. You might be wondering, why self-modulating? What is self-modulating? Having a self-modulated patch, it eliminates the need for automation clips, and it also allows us to keep things a little bit tidier. It's also a good way to practice synthesis techniques. If you're not sure what I mean by self-modulation, you will learn in this video, but it's basically using internal synth functions such as LFOs and envelopes to modulate and affect the sound over time. So this is the sound we're going to be making today. And as you can see there's no automation clips, no internal envelope editing, and that is done completely in Massive. So we're going to be making this sound. Pretty simple sound to make. Once you understand how this kind of stuff works, you can repeat it and do it with different sounds. So what I'm going to do, first of all, I'll just delete this. We don't need that. Is insert Massive, because that's what we'll be using for this sound. Massive is a good choice because it has extensive modulation capabilities, and it's just easy to navigate, really. So first thing I'm going to do is insert a MIDI clip. I'm going to do this around C4 and just insert a long 8-bar note there. If you go over 8 bars, you probably won't be able to follow along with this, just due to the LFO of the limitations and stuff like that. But that's good for now. And next thing we'll do is set up these oscillators in here. Now, you don't need to follow along. You don't need to copy me exactly if you don't want to. The thing with risers is you can pretty much choose any sort of oscillator and it will still sound decent. But what I'm going to do is turn oscillator 1. First of all, I'm going to choose new sound to make it, the standard initial patch. And I'm going to turn this one all the way over to a square wave. I'm also going to turn it up all the way to filter 1 because we'll be using a low pass filter later. Next, I'm going to turn oscillator 2 on, and I'll change the wavetable here to a saw 2 and leave it in the saw position. And I'm also going to change this to filter 1. Now that I've done this, I'm going to set up the filter. So at the moment, we've just got a simple sound like that. It does have a bit of phasing in there, but it's not an issue. Like I said, filter setup, we'll stick a low pass 4 in there. Again, if you want to put a different filter in, that is absolutely fine. I'm not telling you to copy me, but this is just how I make it. I'm going to turn the cutoff to around 9 o'clock, just above, and the resonance down to about 9. So now we've got this. You can probably just hear that. So now what we're going to do is start modulating. And we're going to go into this LFO tab here. And this is probably the hardest part of the whole patch. So we're going to use a triangle LFO wave to get a consistent modulation. We're going to move this over so that this first peak hits the line in the first quarter there. So that might be a little bit hard to see, but around there. If you don't have it around there, if you have it, say, here, your pitch and your cutoff will go up and then come down again before the 8 bars have finished. And you probably don't want that, but you might. It's up to you. We're also going to change this to sync, and then ratio 32 to 1. So it's quite long. Next, we're going to turn this crossfade curve all the way up. In fact, that doesn't even matter because we haven't got it turned on, I think. Anyway, turn it all the way up. That was my mistake. And now we're going to assign this to the cutoff and turn that all the way up, and also these two oscillators I'm going to go up about 2 octaves there with 24 semitones. Have to apologize for my slight cold, by the way. So at the moment, we've got something that sounds like this. Pretty simple. Getting there, but we're not quite, it's not beefy enough. It doesn't sound nice. So it's a little bit boring. What we're going to do is do some more modulation, and we're actually going to modulate an LFO from an LFO. So which is pretty cool. It's a pretty cool thing to do. So what we're going to do here is go into LFO 6 and modulate the rate by LFO 5 up to just before the full maximum amount. And we're also going to modulate the amp, turn this all the way down, and modulate the amp up just a little bit. You can adjust this later if you want. And finally, I'm going to use this LFO here, number 6, to modulate the pitch again up to 12. You can do 24 if you like on both of them. And now we've got this cool sort of self-oscillating effect that you'll hear when I play the sound. So you'll probably hear that in quite a lot of rises. And I also just turn this crossfade curve up to maximum. Okay, we're almost there. Now, I'm just going to select this so I can play the full sound. Now we're going to go into the voicing tab and change this to 4 so we can, in order to have a bit of stereo width. And we'll turn on this pan position and give it a little bit of width. It takes a bit of playing around with to get it even because we've got some phasing going on. But around there should be pretty good. Finally, we're going to add some effects and some sort of final touches just to finalize the sound, add a bit of sparkle to it. So I'm going to choose bright noise here and turn the amp up to almost 12 o'clock, filter all the way to 1, and color full. And noise is always good. Helps add a bit of high end, bit of excitement to the sound. Next, I'm going to add a parabolic shaper to insert 1, and this just adds a little bit of distortion and dirties up the sound a bit. So dry wet around here and drive up quite a lot. Almost lastly, reverb. I'm going to turn this dry wet pretty much all the way down, and you'll see why in a second. Turn the size up, density to about 3 o'clock, and color just above that. Now what I'm going to do here is actually modulate the dry wet with this 5 LFO, which is the long attack sort of thing. And what this will do is cause the reverb to increase in volume as time goes on. So by the end of the riser, you've got it pretty much washed out, which is something I would do anyway if I was automating some reverb. So that's cool. And then finally, just a bit of EQ, bring out the top high shuffle a bit and drop down the low. So our final product sounds like this. Now you'll notice it's actually clipping there, so we'll have to turn this down a bit. And if you want to change the characteristics, for example, you might want it to start off completely down. You could just turn this cutoff down, and then it would come up. Or you might want it to, wobble a bit more. So you could turn this amp up. you get the idea. So many options when making a sound like this, and it's real fun to just play around with stuff, do things you haven't done before, basically experiment and see what comes out of it. So thanks for watching. Hope you enjoyed this. Hope you learned something. Feel free to let me know if you use this in a song. I'll have a listen and, you know, give you a comment or something like that. Yeah, thanks for watching.